The docking clamps locked onto the dancing crane with a metallic thud that echoed through the hull. Captain Ji-hoon watched the station's massive structure fill the viewport, all glowing lights and spinning sections. Kepler 7 was the biggest trade station in this sector, a place where hundreds of alien species came to do business. It always made him a little nervous bringing his crew here. "Docking complete," Yuna announced from the pilot seat. She stretched her arms above her head and grinned. "Another perfect landing, if I say so myself." Minho looked up from his engineering console and laughed. "You say that every time." "Because it's true every time," Yuna shot back. She was already unbuckling her harness, ready to move. Yuna was always ready to move, always full of energy. That was one of the things Ji-hoon liked about her. In the 3 years she had been with his crew, she had never once complained about a job or backed down from a challenge. Sumin entered the bridge, carrying her medical bag. "I need to restock supplies while we're here. The antibiotics are running low and we used most of the surgical gel on Minho after that engine incident." "Hey, that wasn't my fault," Minho protested. "The coupling was faulty." "You still needed 12 stitches, Sumin replied without looking at him. Taeyang stood in the doorway, quiet as always. The security officer rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. "I'll do a security sweep of the docking area. Make sure we don't have any unwanted attention." Ji-hoon nodded. "Good. Yuna, didn't you say you had a meeting with that Vadrian trade group?" "Yeah, Kelvash's consortium. They want to discuss shipping contracts for the outer rim routes." Yuna pulled on her jacket, the one with the dancing crane patch on the shoulder. "Should be simple. I've dealt with Vadrians before. They're all business." "Want me to come with you?" Ji-hoon asked. Something felt off, but he couldn't say what. Yuna waved him away. "I'll be fine, Captain. It's just a negotiation. Besides, you hate sitting through those meetings. You always end up arguing about terms." She wasn't wrong. Ji-hoon had a temper when it came to unfair deals. "All right, but keep your comm open. And if anything feels wrong, you leave, understand?" "Understood." Yuna gave him a mock salute and headed toward the airlock. Ji-hoon watched her go. Minho came to stand beside him. "She'll be okay, Captain. Yuna can handle herself." "I know," Ji-hoon said. But the uneasy feeling didn't go away. 3 hours passed. Ji-hoon tried to focus on paperwork, reviewing supply lists and maintenance schedules. Minho worked on the engine repairs. Sumin returned from the medical supply depot with her bags full. Taeyang checked and rechecked the ship's exterior sensors. When 4 hours had passed, Ji-hoon checked Yuna's comm signal. It showed she was on her way back to the ship. He felt a little foolish for worrying. The airlock cycled open. Yuna stepped through. Ji-hoon knew immediately that something was very wrong. Yuna moved differently. Her usual confident stride was gone, replaced by careful, measured steps. She held herself stiffly, like moving hurt. Her jacket collar was pulled up high around her neck, but Ji-hoon could still see the edge of a bruise on her skin. Her hands trembled slightly as she sealed the airlock behind her. "Yuna!" Sumin appeared from the medical bay, taking one look at the pilot and moving forward quickly. "What happened?" "Nothing." Yuna's voice came out flat and controlled. Too controlled. "I'm fine. The meeting ran long, that's all." "You're hurt." Sumin reached for Yuna's arm, but the pilot pulled away sharply. "I said I'm fine." Yuna wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. "Just tired. I'm going to my quarters." She walked past them, her limp more obvious now that she wasn't trying so hard to hide it. Ji-hoon watched her disappear down the corridor. He turned to find Taeyang standing in the doorway, his expression dark. "That wasn't nothing," Taeyang said quietly. Minho had emerged from the engine room. "Did you see her neck?" "Those looked like finger marks." Sumin's jaw was tight. "There's bruising on her wrist, too. I only saw it for a second, but I know what I saw." Ji-hoon felt something cold settle in his chest. She said she's fine. She's lying, Suman said, and Yuna doesn't lie. Not to us. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Ji-hoon made a decision. Minho, pull the security footage from the docking bay. I want to see when Yuna came back. Sumin, check her quarters later. See if she'll let you examine her. Don't push, but try. What are you going to do? Taeyang asked. I'm going to find out who she met with, Ji-hoon said. And what happened in that meeting? Minho worked at the computer console, his fingers flying across the keys. It took him 20 minutes to hack into the station's security network. Got it. Here's the footage from Bay 12, where our airlock connects. They watched the screen. Yuna appeared in the frame, walking from the direction of the station's commercial sector. But this wasn't the Yuna who had left the ship 4 hours ago. This Yuna walked slowly, one hand against the wall for support. Her jacket was torn at the shoulder. She stopped once and leaned against a cargo container, her whole body shaking. Freeze that, Suman said. Zoom in on her face. The image enlarged. Yuna's eyes were red. She had been crying. Ji-hoon felt his hands curl into fists. In 3 years, he had never seen Yuna cry. Not when they had been attacked by pirates, not when she had broken her arm during a rough landing, not once. Keep looking, he said. Find out where she came from before this. Minho tracked backward through the camera feeds. They followed Yuna's path through the station. She had gone to the Vadrian commercial sector, to a private office suite registered to Trademaster Kelvash. How long was she in there? Ji-hoon asked. 2 hours and 17 minutes, Minho replied. And when she came out? The footage showed Yuna leaving the office. Her clothes were disheveled. She walked like she was hurt or drugged or both. No one stopped to help her. The few aliens who passed by simply walked around her. Taeyang moved closer to the screen. Go back. Before she entered the office. Minho complied. They watched Yuna arrive at the office suite, looking confident and professional. She shook hands with a tall Vadrian male. He smiled at her. The kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. That's Kelvash, Minho said. He's listed as a trademaster, been working on this station for 8 years. Suman appeared in the doorway. Her face was pale. I went to check on Yuna. She finally fell asleep, but not before I managed to scan her. She has Vadrian sedative compounds in her system. A lot of them. What does that mean? Minho asked. It means someone drugged her, Suman said. Those compounds are used in Vadrian medicine. They cause temporary paralysis and memory confusion. They're controlled substances. The cold feeling in Ji-hoon's chest turned to ice. He drugged her. There's more, Suman continued. There are signs of trauma, physical trauma. I won't go into details, but someone hurt her badly. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Taeyang said, very quietly, Who do we need to kill? Ji-hoon looked at his crew. Minho, young and angry. Suman, her healer's hands clenched into fists. Taeyang, calm and deadly. They all wore the same expression. Someone had hurt their Yuna. Someone had hurt their family. Not yet, Ji-hoon said. First, we find out everything. Then we decide what to do. But he already knew what they would do. Yuna had said she was fine. She had lied to protect them, to keep them from doing something dangerous. She didn't understand yet. When you hurt one of them, you hurt all of them. And humans didn't forgive that. Ever. Minho spent the entire night digging through the station's database. His eyes were red from staring at the screen, but he couldn't stop. Every file he opened made him angrier. Captain, you need to see this, he called out. Ji-hoon entered the common area with a cup of coffee. He hadn't slept either. None of them had. Yuna was still in her quarters, the door locked from the inside. Suman had checked on her twice, but she wasn't talking. What did you find? Ji-hoon asked. Minho pulled up a series of files on the main screen. Complaints. 3 of them, filed over the past 5 years, all against Kelvash, all from human women who worked as merchants or traders. Ji-hoon read through them. His coffee went cold in his hand. Each complaint told the same story: a business meeting, a drugged drink, hours of missing time, and then nothing. No investigation, no charges. Just a note in the file that said the matter had been dismissed due to lack of evidence. They buried them, Ji-hoon said. The station authorities knew and did nothing. It gets worse, Minho continued. I cross-referenced Kelvash's schedule with merchant arrivals. There are 7 more incidents where human women met with him alone. None of them filed complaints. I think they knew it wouldn't matter. Taeyang had been listening from the doorway. He targets humans specifically. Yeah, Minho said. I think he knows we're new to the galactic community. We don't have the same protections as the older species, and Vadrians have diplomatic immunity for their trade officials. Ji-hoon set down his coffee carefully, afraid he would throw it otherwise. So he's untouchable. According to station law, yes, Minho replied. We'll see about that, Ji-hoon said. The news spread faster than Ji-hoon expected. He mentioned what happened to the captain of another human ship, the Morning Star, while getting supplies. Within hours, every human crew on the station knew. By morning, humans throughout the sector had heard. Ji-hoon's communication console lit up with incoming messages. Ship captains, merchants, even a few military veterans who had retired to trading. All of them asking the same thing. What do you need? One message came from a freighter captain named Do-hyun. Ji-hoon didn't know him personally, but they had crossed paths a few times in various ports. I heard what happened to your pilot, the message said. Kelvash did the same thing to my daughter 2 years ago. She was 19. She killed herself 6 months later. I couldn't prove what he did. No one would listen. If you're going after him, I want in. Ji-hoon stared at the message for a long time. Then he sent a reply. Stand by. I'll be in touch. More messages came. A former military pilot offered weapons. A medical researcher sent information about Vadrian biology and weaknesses. A data specialist offered to hack any system they needed. The offers kept coming. Suman found him at his desk. The human quarter of the station is talking. Word is getting around about what we're planning. We haven't planned anything yet, Ji-hoon said. Everyone assumes we are, and they want to help. Suman sat down across from him. I spoke to a Threxian dock worker today. He told me to let it go. Said Vadrians have too much power, that we'd only make things worse if we tried anything. And what did you tell him? I told him he doesn't understand humans very well, Suman said. She smiled, but there was no humor in it. I've been researching Vadrian anatomy. Did you know their natural venom can be neutralized with a compound made from common human medications? I've been working on a formula. Ji-hoon looked at his medic. Suman had always been gentle, dedicated to healing. Now she was researching how to turn someone's biology against them. We're really doing this, he said. Of course we are, Suman replied. She's ours. Taeyang entered without knocking. I made some calls. I have contacts from my military days, people who specialize in situations like this. What kind of situations? Ji-hoon asked. The kind where someone needs to disappear, or where evidence needs to surface, or where diplomatic immunity needs to stop being relevant? Taeyang pulled up a chair. I can have a team here in 36 hours. They're expensive, but several human merchants have already offered to split the cost. We don't have much time, Minho said, joining them. I hacked Kelvash's schedule. He's requesting early departure from the station. He wants to leave in 48 hours. He knows something is wrong, Suman said. Good, Ji-hoon replied. He should be afraid. The door to Yuna's quarters opened. They all turned. Yuna stood there, looking small and tired. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She still wore the same clothes from yesterday. What are you all doing? she asked quietly. No one answered immediately. Then Ji-hoon stood up and walked over to her. We're taking care of it. Taking care of what? Yuna's voice cracked. There's nothing to take care of. I already told you. I'm fine. You're not fine, Sumin said gently. And we know what happened. Yuna's face went pale. You don't know anything. We know enough, Taeyang said. We know who hurt you. We know he's done it before. We know the station authorities won't do anything about it. So just leave it alone, Yuna said. Her hands were shaking again. It's over. I just want to forget about it. We can't do that, Ji-hoon said. Why not? Yuna's voice rose. Why can't you just let it go? It's not your problem. It's mine. Because you're family, Minho said. When someone hurts family, we don't let it go. Tears started running down Yuna's face. You'll get in trouble. Kelvash has diplomatic protection. If you do anything to him, they'll arrest you. They might even start an interstellar incident. Let them try, Ji-hoon said. You don't understand, Yuna said desperately. He told me. He told me that no one would believe me. That even if they did, nothing would happen to him. He's protected. And he said he'd done this dozens of times, to dozens of women. And no one ever stopped him because no one can touch him. The room went silent. Then Taeyang spoke, his voice colder than space itself. He was wrong about one thing. We can touch him. I don't want you to risk everything for me, Yuna said. Sumin stood and walked over to her. She pulled Yuna into a hug, careful of her injuries. You don't get to decide that. You're not alone in this. You were never alone in this. Yuna broke down then, really broke down, sobbing into Sumin's shoulder. The rest of the crew looked away, giving her privacy while still staying close. When humans formed bonds, they were unbreakable. When you hurt one, you made enemies of them all. An hour later, there was a knock on the airlock. Ji-hoon opened it to find a woman in an expensive suit standing there. She was human, probably in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. I'm Ambassador Hana, she said. I heard you might need some help. Ji-hoon let her in. She looked around at the crew, then at Yuna, who had finally stopped crying. I've read the reports, Hana said. All of them. The buried complaints, the dismissed investigations, everything. She set her briefcase down on the table. Officially, I cannot sanction any action against a protected Vadrian diplomat. Ji-hoon's heart sank. But then Hana opened the briefcase. Unofficially, she continued, here is Kelvash's complete schedule for the next 48 hours, his security protocols, the access codes to his private quarters. The exact time his transport leaves the station. She pulled out a data chip and set it on the table. Also, unofficially, you should know that the Vadrian government values their reputation. If certain evidence were to become public, they might be forced to act. Why are you helping us? Minho asked. Hana looked at Yuna. Because I have a daughter, and because someone needs to teach the galaxy that humans protect their own. Diplomatic immunity or not. She stood up to leave, then paused at the airlock. One more thing. There are 53 human vessels currently in this sector. If anything happens to you or your crew while dealing with this situation, all 53 have agreed to blockade the station. No trade in or out until justice is served. That would cripple the station's economy, Ji-hoon said. Yes, Hana replied. It would. The Galactic Council should have thought about that before they created laws that protect predators. She smiled. Good hunting, Captain. After she left, the crew gathered around the table. The data chip sat in the center containing everything they needed. So, Taeyang said, what's the plan? Ji-hoon looked at each of them, his crew, his family. We're going to teach Kelvash what happens when you hurt a human, and we're going to make sure he never does it again. Yuna couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she was back in that office. She could smell the strange, sweet scent of the drugged tea, feel her body going numb and unresponsive, hear Kelvash's voice in her ear, telling her how easy humans were to break. She got out of bed and walked to the small window in her quarters. Outside, the station rotated slowly, its lights reflecting off passing ships. Somewhere out there, Kelvash was going about his day like nothing had happened, like he hadn't destroyed something inside her. A soft knock came at her door. "Yuna? It's me." Sumin's voice, always gentle, always careful. Yuna wanted to ignore it, but she also didn't want to be alone with her thoughts anymore. "Come in," she said. Sumin entered carrying 2 cups of tea. Real tea, not the synthetic stuff from the ship's dispenser. She must have gotten it from one of the station's shops. She handed 1 cup to Yuna and sat down on the bed. They drank in silence for a while. The tea was warm and helped settle Yuna's stomach a little. "You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to," Sumin said, "but I'm here if you do." Yuna stared into her cup. Part of her wanted to keep it all locked inside, to pretend it never happened. But another part, a bigger part, was tired of carrying it alone. "He planned it," she said quietly. "From the beginning. The meeting was real, but he never intended to discuss business." Sumin didn't say anything, just listened. "He offered me tea, said it was a traditional greeting in Vadrian culture. I didn't think anything of it." Yuna's hands tightened around the cup. "I started feeling strange about 10 minutes later. My fingers went numb. Then my arms. I tried to stand up to leave, but my legs wouldn't work." The words came faster now, like a dam breaking. "He just watched me struggle. He was smiling. He told me this was his favorite part, watching them realize what was happening, watching them try to fight it." Yuna's voice broke. "I couldn't move. I could barely speak, but I could feel everything. I could hear everything he said." Sumin reached over and took Yuna's free hand, holding it gently. "He told me he'd done this dozens of times, that human women were his favorite because we're so arrogant. We think we're tough, think we can handle ourselves in any situation. He liked proving us wrong." Tears started falling again. "He said no one would believe me if I reported it, that his diplomatic status made him untouchable, and even if someone did believe me, nothing would happen to him." "He hurt you," Sumin said softly. It wasn't a question. Yuna nodded. She couldn't say the words out loud, but she didn't have to. Sumin understood. "The worst part," Yuna continued, "was afterward, when the drugs started wearing off and I could move again. He helped me fix my clothes. He straightened my jacket. And he told me I should be grateful, that he could have done worse, that some of his colleagues preferred to kill their victims, but he liked letting them live, letting them remember." Sumin's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed gentle. "Did he threaten you?" "He said if I told anyone, he'd make sure everyone knew I had gone to his office willingly, that I had accepted his tea, his hospitality, that any accusation would just make me look like a liar trying to extort money from a respected trade official." Yuna wiped her eyes. "And he was right. Who would believe me over him?" "We believe you," Sumin said firmly. "Every single one of us believes you." "I know," Yuna said, "but that doesn't change anything. He's still protected. He'll still get away with it." Sumin was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Would you like to know what we've been doing while you've been in here?" Yuna looked at her. "What do you mean?" "The captain has been gathering information. Minho has been hacking into restricted databases. Taiyang has been contacting old military friends. And I've been studying Vadrian biology, looking for weaknesses." Sumin squeezed Yuna's hand. "We're not letting this go." "You can't do anything," Yuna said desperately. "You'll get in trouble. You could lose the ship. You could end up in prison." "Maybe," Sumin said, "but we're doing it anyway." "Why? Why risk everything?" Sumin looked at her like she had asked why the stars shine. Because you're ours. Because when someone hurts our family, we don't just move on. We make it right. Yuna started crying again, but this time it was different. This time she wasn't crying because she felt helpless and broken. She was crying because she wasn't alone. Sumin stayed with her until she fell asleep. When she woke, it was evening according to the ship's clock. She felt steadier somehow, like talking about it had released some of the pressure that had been building in her chest. She got up, showered, and changed into clean clothes. Then she left her quarters and went to find the others. They were all in the common area, gathered around the table with data pads and holographic displays. They looked up when she entered, and she saw the concern in their eyes. "I want to help," Yuna said. Ji-hoon stood up. "You don't have to. We can handle this." "I know," Yuna said. "But I want to. I need to. I can't just hide in my room while you all take the risk for me." Taeyang nodded slowly. "It might help, actually. You know details about his office setup, his security, his routines." "I remember everything," Yuna said. "The drugs didn't affect my memory. I wish they had, but they didn't." Minho pulled up a schematic of the Vadrian commercial sector. "Can you walk us through what you saw?" For the next hour, Yuna told them everything she could remember. The layout of Kelvash's office, the security cameras she had noticed, the private entrance he had used to leave while she was still recovering, the schedule board she had seen on his desk. She didn't include the details of the assault itself. They didn't need those, and she didn't want to relive it again. But she gave them everything else. When she finished, Ji-hoon leaned back in his chair. "He's careful, but not careful enough." "What's the plan?" Yuna asked. The crew exchanged glances. Then Ji-hoon said, "We're going to catch him. We're going to get a full confession from him, and then we're going to make sure the entire galaxy knows what he's been doing." "How?" Yuna asked. "He has diplomatic immunity. Even with a confession, the station authorities won't arrest him." "The station authorities won't," Taeyang said. "But his own government might. If the evidence is public and undeniable, the Vadrian government will be forced to act. They care about their reputation more than they care about protecting one criminal." Sumin pulled up her research. "I've created a compound that will counteract Vadrian venom and their sedatives. If he tries to drug any of us, it won't work. I've also created something else, a truth serum that works specifically on Vadrian biology." "Truth serum?" Minho asked. "Does that actually work?" "On Vadrians, yes. Their biology is different from ours. The compound I designed will make it physically painful for them to lie. Not harmful, just uncomfortable. Uncomfortable enough that telling the truth becomes easier." Sumin looked at Yuna. "I started working on it 2 years ago, after I heard about other incidents. I didn't know we'd need it, but I wanted to be prepared." Yuna felt something warm spread through her chest. Sumin had been preparing to protect humans from people like Kelvash for years. She had been ready. "When do we move?" Yuna asked. "Tomorrow," Ji-hoon said. "Kelvash is scheduled to leave the station the day after that. We have one chance." "I want to be there," Yuna said. "When you confront him, I want him to see me." "Are you sure?" Ji-hoon asked gently. "You don't have to face him again." "I know," Yuna said. "But I want to. I want him to know that he didn't break me, that I'm not alone, that humans don't forget." Taeyang smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Then you'll be there. We all will." That night, Yuna slept better than she had since the assault. Not because she had forgotten what happened. Not because the pain had gone away. But because she knew that tomorrow, things would change. Tomorrow, Kelvash would learn what it meant to hurt a human. And he would learn that diplomatic immunity only protected you from laws, not from consequences. Kelvash noticed the change in atmosphere immediately. He had been a trade official for 8 years and had learned to read the mood of the station. Something was different today. The human merchants, who usually smiled and nodded at him, now stared with cold eyes. The casual greetings had stopped. Yesterday, a human dock worker had accidentally bumped into him hard enough to make him stumble. When he complained, the station security had simply shrugged. He checked his schedule again. His transport off the station was scheduled for tomorrow morning, just one more day. Then he would be gone, heading to the next station, the next opportunity. He had already selected his next target from the incoming merchant manifests. Another young human woman traveling alone. But something felt wrong. Kelvash prided himself on his instincts, and those instincts were screaming danger. He sent a message to the station's transport authority requesting an earlier departure. Within an hour, he received approval. His transport would leave tonight instead of tomorrow morning. Good. The sooner he left, the better. He began packing his personal items from the office. Most of his belongings were already on his private ship, but he kept certain things here. Documents, trophies, small items he had taken from various victims over the years. He smiled as he packed them away. Each one was a memory. His door chimed. He checked the security monitor and saw two humans standing outside. Both male, both wearing maintenance uniforms. One was young with friendly eyes. The other was older, more serious. "Yes?" Kelvash asked through the intercom. "Station maintenance," the younger one said, holding up a work order pad. "We're here to inspect the environmental systems. Required monthly check. It'll only take a few minutes." Kelvash hesitated, but it was a legitimate work order, and refusing would only draw attention. "Very well. Make it quick." He unlocked the door. The two humans entered. The younger one went immediately to the environmental control panel and started running diagnostics. The older one stood near the door, watching Kelvash with an expression that made him uncomfortable. "I'm in the middle of packing," Kelvash said. "Can this wait?" "Afraid not," the younger one replied. "Regulations. Monthly inspections can't be delayed." Something in his tone made Kelvash's skin crawl. He reached for his personal comm device, but the older human moved faster. In one smooth motion, he grabbed Kelvash's wrist and twisted it behind his back. "What are you doing?" Kelvash tried to activate his venom glands, the natural defense mechanism all Vadrians possessed, but nothing happened. His biology wasn't responding. The younger human looked up from the control panel and smiled. "The air in this room has been saturated with a compound that neutralizes Vadrian venom. You can try to use it all you want. It won't work." Kelvash struggled, but the older human was stronger than he looked. "This is assault. I have diplomatic immunity. You can't touch me." "We can," the older human said calmly. "And we are." The door opened again. 3 more humans entered. Kelvash recognized one of them immediately. The pilot from the dancing crane, the one he had entertained a few days ago. She looked different now, stronger, angrier. "Hello, Kelvash," she said. He tried to maintain his composure. "This is illegal. Whatever you're planning, you'll be arrested. You'll start an interstellar incident." "Maybe," the woman said. She walked closer, studying him like he was an interesting specimen. "Or maybe the galaxy will finally learn what you've been doing for the past 8 years." The young human pulled out a small device and placed it on the desk. "This is recording everything. Video, audio, biological scans. Everything you say and do from this point on will be documented." Kelvash felt real fear for the first time in years. "I don't know what you think I've done, but you're making a mistake." "Are we?" Another human stepped forward, a woman with medical equipment. She pulled out an injector. "This is interesting. I developed it myself. It's a compound that makes lying physically painful for Vadrians. Not dangerous, just uncomfortable. The more you lie, the worse it feels. But if you tell the truth, there's no discomfort at all." "You can't drug me against my will," Kelvash said. "That's a violation of my rights." "Like you violated Yuna's rights?" the pilot asked. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were furious. Like you violated the rights of all those other women? The medical woman injected the compound into Kelvash's arm before he could struggle free. It worked fast. Within seconds, he felt a strange sensation spreading through his body. Now, the older human said, still holding him firmly, let's have a conversation. How many women have you assaulted? Kelvash tried to refuse to answer. Immediately, a sharp pain lanced through his chest. Not enough to damage him, but enough to hurt. A lot. 43, he gasped before he could stop himself. The pain disappeared instantly. The humans exchanged dark looks. The pilot's hands clenched into fists. Tell us about your methods, the medical woman said. How did you choose your victims? Again, Kelvash tried to stay silent. Again, the pain forced the words out. Human women, young, traveling alone or with small crews, no powerful connections, no one who would be believed if they reported me. The words came out in a rush. I'd invite them for business meetings, offer them tea laced with sedatives. Their biology made them easy targets. The drugs affected them quickly. And then, the pilot asked. Her voice shook slightly. Then I'd do whatever I wanted, Kelvash said. He hated that he couldn't stop talking. They couldn't fight back, couldn't stop me. I'd tell them afterward that no one would believe them, that my diplomatic status protected me, and it did. For 8 years, it did. Why? The young human asked. Why target humans specifically? Because you're new, Kelvash said. The truth kept spilling out. New to the galactic community, eager to make connections, to be accepted. You don't know all the laws yet. You don't have the political power to challenge established species. You're perfect victims. The oldest human, the one holding him, spoke quietly. Did you enjoy it? Yes, Kelvash said. And then, as the truth serum forced more words out, I enjoyed their fear, their helplessness. I enjoyed knowing I could hurt them and face no consequences. I enjoyed choosing my next victim, planning each assault. It made me feel powerful. The pilot stepped very close to him. Did you tell me I should be grateful? That you could have killed me? Yes, Kelvash said. I always tell them that. It makes them feel like they got off easy, makes them less likely to report me. And the other women, she continued, the ones whose complaints were buried. Did you threaten them too? I didn't have to threaten most of them. They knew reporting me was pointless. Station security works for the Galactic Council, and the Council protects trade officials. A few tried anyway. I had their complaints dismissed. Easy. The truth serum was relentless. One of them killed herself. That was unfortunate. I had planned to target her sister next. The room went absolutely silent. Then the young human spoke, his voice filled with rage. That was Captain Do-hyun's daughter. She was 19 years old. Kelvash remembered her, young, eager, full of hope. She had cried afterward. He had found it amusing. Yes, he said. I remember her. The oldest human finally released his grip. Kelvash stumbled forward, but there was nowhere to run. 5 humans surrounded him, and he could see in their eyes that they wanted to hurt him. Badly. You're going to kill me, he said. The truth serum made him say it, even though he didn't want to. No, the captain said. We're not going to kill you. That would make us like you. But we are going to make sure you face consequences for the first time in your miserable life. The medical woman stepped forward again. You're going to experience something now, something you made all those women experience. Helplessness, paralysis, the feeling of being completely powerless while aware of everything happening around you. She injected him again. This time, Kelvash felt his body go numb. His legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor, unable to move. But he could still see, still hear, still feel everything. The pilot knelt down beside him. This is what you did to me. This is what you did to all of them. Now you know how it feels." They left him there on the floor, paralyzed and terrified. The young human worked at a computer console, downloading files from Kelvash's personal system. All his records, all his trophies, all the evidence he had kept because he thought he was untouchable. After what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, the medical woman injected him with something else. Feeling returned to his body. He could move again. "Get up," the captain ordered. Kelvash struggled to his feet. His legs shook. He had never felt this vulnerable, this powerless. Now he understood the fear he had seen in his victim's eyes. "Here's what happens next," the captain said. "We've recorded your full confession. We've copied all your files, and we're going to broadcast all of it, every word, every file, every piece of evidence, to every communication channel in this sector." "You can't," Kelvash said. "Diplomatic immunity protects you from arrest," the captain interrupted. "Not from consequences. Your own government is going to see this. Every species in the galactic community is going to see what you've done, and they're going to have to decide if protecting one predator is worth the damage to their reputation. And if they don't act," the pilot added, "then the entire human community will know, and we'll make sure you never feel safe again. Wherever you go, whatever station or planet you run to, there will be humans there, watching, waiting, making sure everyone knows what you are." The young human finished his work at the console. "Got everything. Uploading to the broadcast network now." Kelvash felt something he hadn't felt in years. Genuine soul-deep terror. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. His victims would finally be heard. "One more thing," the captain said. He pulled out a data chip and handed it to Kelvash. "This contains contact information for every woman you assaulted. You're going to send a personal apology to each one. A real apology, admitting what you did. If you don't, we'll find you. And next time, we might not be so civilized." They left him there in his office, surrounded by his packed belongings, his whole world crumbling. Through the window, he could see human ships surrounding the station. Dozens of them, hundreds, all of them waiting to see what would happen next. He had hunted humans because he thought they were weak. He had been so very wrong. The broadcast went live at exactly midnight station time. Every communication channel in the sector received it simultaneously. Every data pad, every ship's console, every public information screen suddenly displayed the same thing: Kelvash's confession. The galactic community watched in stunned silence as the Vadrian trade official detailed 8 years of crimes, 43 victims, dozens of buried complaints. The calculated targeting of human women because they were new to galactic society and lacked political protection. By morning, the video had spread across known space. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds had seen it. There was no way to bury this, no way to dismiss it. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Station security arrived at Kelvash's office within an hour of the broadcast, but they found the Dancing Crane's crew already gone. Kelvash sat alone on the floor, staring at nothing. When security tried to question him, he just kept repeating, "They were supposed to be weak. Humans are supposed to be weak." By noon, the Vadrian embassy on Kepler 7 was surrounded by protesters, not just humans, but members of other species too, beings who had daughters, sisters, partners. Beings who understood what Kelvash represented and were disgusted by it. The station's command center was in chaos. Admiral Thorvik, the station's commander, stared at the reports flooding his desk. 53 human vessels had formed a blockade around the station. No ships in or out until Kelvash was arrested and charged. "This is an act of aggression," one of his advisors said. "We should call for military support." "From who?" Thorvik snapped. "Earth? They're the ones enforcing the blockade. The Galactic Council? They're busy trying to explain why their laws protected a serial predator for 8 years. Another report came in. More human ships were arriving. Military vessels this time. They weren't threatening anyone, just taking up positions around the station. Waiting. Thorvik's communication console lit up. It was Ambassador Hana from the human embassy. "Ambassador," Thorvik said tiredly, "I assume you're calling about the blockade." "I am," Hana replied. "I want to make humanity's position clear. The blockade continues until Kelvash is formally charged and his diplomatic immunity is revoked. We're not asking. We're not negotiating. This is what's going to happen." "The Vadrian government is claiming this is an attack on their sovereignty," Thorvik said. "The Vadrian government can claim whatever they want. But if they choose to protect Kelvash, they'll be choosing to make enemies of every human in explored space. All 3 billion of us." Hana's voice was steel. "We're the newest species in the galactic community. We're the ones everyone thought would just accept the established order. I think it's time everyone learned something about humans." "And what's that?" "We don't forgive easily, and we never, ever forget." The call ended. Thorvik looked at his advisors. "Get me the Vadrian ambassador, now." On the dancing crane, the crew watched the news reports coming in from across the galaxy. The story was everywhere. Some outlets were sympathetic to Kelvash, claiming the humans had acted like criminals. But most weren't. Most were asking the question that mattered. How had this been allowed to happen? Yuna sat in the pilot's seat, reading messages from other victims. They were reaching out, thanking her crew. Some were angry it had taken so long. Others were just relieved that someone had finally acted. One message was from Captain Do-hyun, the man whose daughter had killed herself. It was simple. "Thank you. She can finally rest now." Yuna felt tears in her eyes, but they were different from before. These weren't tears of helplessness. These were tears of relief, of release. "How are you doing?" Ji-hoon asked, sitting down beside her. "I don't know yet," Yuna admitted. "Part of me still can't believe we did it, that it actually worked." "Believe it," Ji-hoon said. "The entire galaxy is watching. They can't ignore this. They can't protect him anymore." "What if they try?" Yuna asked. "What if the Vadrian government refuses to act?" "Then we keep the blockade in place," Ji-hoon said simply, "and we make sure every single being in explored space knows what they're protecting. Eventually, the economic pressure will force them to act. Trade routes depend on stability. Right now, we're disrupting stability." Minho entered the bridge. "Captain, you need to see this. The Galactic Council is holding an emergency session. It's being broadcast live." They pulled up the feed. The council chamber was packed with representatives from hundreds of species. The atmosphere was tense. The council chair, a Threxian named Vexthal, called for order. "We are here to address the incident involving Vadrian trade official Kelvash and the subsequent human blockade of Station Kepler 7. The Vadrian representative stood immediately. "This is an act of aggression by the human species. They assaulted a protected official, coerced a confession, and are now threatening our trade routes." Ambassador Hana stood from the human delegation. "The Vadrian representative is correct. We did coerce a confession. We did so because your laws protected a predator for 8 years, because 43 women were assaulted, and your justice system did nothing, because one young woman killed herself, and no one cared. The proper channels should have been followed," the Vadrian representative shouted. "The proper channels failed," Hana said coldly, "repeatedly, deliberately. So we created our own channel, and now the entire galaxy knows the truth. You can't bury this. You can't dismiss it. You have to face it." The chamber erupted in argument. Representatives from different species took sides. Some supported the Vadrians, claiming humans had violated established protocols. Others supported the humans, arguing that justice had been too long delayed. Finally, the council chair called for silence. "The council must make a decision. But first, I want to state something clearly. The humans are correct. Our laws failed. They failed to protect the vulnerable. They failed to punish the guilty. And they failed to provide justice to those who needed it most. He looked directly at the Vadrian representative. Diplomatic immunity exists to protect officials doing their duty, not to shield criminals. If the Vadrian government does not revoke Kelvash's immunity and charge him with his crimes, the human blockade will be the least of your problems. Every species represented here has reason to be disturbed by what we've learned. Many of us have been victims of similar abuses, protected by these same laws. The Vadrian representative sat down slowly. He looked defeated. The Vadrian government, he said quietly, hereby revokes all diplomatic protections for former trade official Kelvash. We acknowledge that crimes were committed. He will be charged under Vadrian law and extradited to face trial. Not good enough, Hana said. He assaulted 43 women across multiple jurisdictions. He should be tried by an independent tribunal with representatives from all affected species, including humans. There was silence. Then slowly, other representatives began nodding. The precedent this would set was enormous, but so was the crime. Agreed, the council chair said. An independent tribunal will be formed. Kelvash will face justice, and the council will review all laws regarding diplomatic immunity to prevent this from happening again. Back on the dancing crane, the crew watched as the Galactic Council made its decision official. The blockade could end. Justice would be served. "We did it," Minho said, sounding amazed. "We actually did it." "No," Yuna said softly. "We started it. This is bigger than just Kelvash now. This is about changing the system that protected him." She was right. Over the following weeks, more victims came forward, not just of Kelvash, but of other officials from other species who had abused their protected status. The floodgates had opened. The entire galactic community was being forced to confront the laws that had enabled predators for decades. The trial took 3 months. Kelvash was found guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to 43 years in a maximum security facility, 1 year for each victim. His assets were seized and distributed among the victims as compensation. But more importantly, the laws changed. Diplomatic immunity was revised. Protections were added for victims, and a new enforcement agency was created, specifically to investigate complaints against protected officials. The agency was led by a coalition of species, with humans playing a prominent role. 6 months after the broadcast, Yuna stood on the bridge of the dancing crane as the new captain. Ji-hoon had retired, satisfied that he'd made a difference. The rest of the crew had stayed on, and they'd added 2 new members. They were preparing to depart from Kepler-7, heading for new trade routes in the Outer Rim. As they undocked, Yuna looked at the station one last time. So much had changed since that terrible day 6 months ago. "Ready for departure, Captain?" Minho asked. "Ready," Yuna confirmed. She still had nightmares sometimes. Still flinched at certain sounds or smells. But she was healing, and she was no longer alone. A message came through from Earth Command. Yuna read it aloud to the crew. "To the dancing crane, your actions at Station Kepler-7 have brought honor to the human species and justice to victims across the galaxy. You reminded everyone why humans should never be underestimated. Well done. Safe travels." Taeyang smiled. "I like that. Never be underestimated." "They thought we were weak," Suman said. "They thought we would just accept injustice because we're new to the galactic community." "They were wrong," Yuna said. She engaged the engines, and the dancing crane pulled away from the station. "They forgot something important about humans." "What's that?" Minho asked. Yuna looked at her crew, her family, the beings who had crossed the galaxy for her, who had risked everything to protect her, who had refused to let injustice stand. "We protect our own," she said, "always, no matter what it costs, no matter who stands in our way. When you hurt one of us, you make enemies of all of us, and we never, ever give up. As the dancing crane jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving Kepler-7 behind, a new understanding spread through the galactic community. Humans were no longer the newcomers who could be pushed around. They were no longer the species that could be taken advantage of without consequence. They were a species that formed bonds as strong as steel. That protected their vulnerable with terrifying determination. That would tear down systems and challenge governments to defend their own. They were humans. And the galaxy would never underestimate them again. Years later, on stations and planets across explored space, there would be a saying among non-humans: never hurt a human's family, because then you don't have one enemy. You have 3 billion. And everyone who heard it knew exactly what it meant. It meant that humanity had arrived, and they had changed everything.